What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day. Welcome to the Planet Jokum Starring Disney Extravaganza. Whatever you want to call it. It's an extravaganza. Is that how you say it? Is that the right way to say it? Anyway, welcome. Good to see you here, Imaginary Land. Thank you for joining in. I usually like to have that intro screen so I can make sure everything's like not broken. Because I can't tell you how many times I've started a stream right away and then like, oh shit, that like the mic's muted. Like, oh shit, forgot to start the music, you know. Hopefully the vocals and the music is at a good balance volume. I could probably turn my camera a little more this way. See, like shit like that. Oops, need to adjust the camera. Anyway, well I can't see my camera on the start screen, so maybe I should consider that next time. This is the current progress of the Disney scene. I've really worked it out a lot since the last time you saw it. I actually, so hopefully it's not too low quality because the max export size is 1280 pixels by 1280. Or the way they say it, it's weird. They don't give you a dimension. It's just like 1280. But there's a time-lapse thing that's actually built into my painting program. So I started with screen recording, but then ended up switching to this instead. And it, I'm realizing chat isn't showing up on the screen, is it now? Hey Stephanie, what's up? Good to see you here. Happy Friday. This looks awesome on the teacup. This is great. Thank you. Yeah, I just got, that was like the most recent edition. I'm still shading it up. It's pretty close, but yeah. I wanted a teacup floating in there. Kind of helps show how deep it is. I think I want to bring out that heart on the teacup a little bit more. I ended up choosing the heart teacup because I thought it was kind of cool to like have, you know, a heart in juxtaposition with like a nuke going off and everything being in a bad place. It's like where love was once left behind. I don't know. I'm trying to add story to the paintings these days. Definitely makes them more impactful. But hold on, I'm just resizing this on the other monitor here, so it's all neat. I've become OCD about my stream layout over time. Self-diagnosed OCD over stream layout, and I need to switch the screen so I can show you. Look at this. Because I realize it's cool. So what happens in this program is it records every paint stroke and then slowly turns it into a file, and like the file of the program just like grows bigger and bigger. But if you work Clip Studio, you know, but it was probably around here. That was when we streamed last. The other cool part about the time-lapse feature is you can log out and come back into the program later, and it'll pick right back up where you started. So that's a nice feature I've been playing with. But this is probably where it was, and I'm gonna speed this up in a video program later and make it a little bit faster, a little bit smoother looking. But I'm just gonna grab the slider here. So right here, remember Stephanie when we changed it from warm to cool? The wash, basically, the wash, meaning the I'm just gonna go back to the screen here quick. Again, even though I had 6 minutes to fix this stuff, I'm still finding things every time I start. I'm gonna copy this. No, it's not showing. That's funny. Wanted my camera to be on the other screen. Oh, it's not letting me copy it now. Weird. Well, I'll mess with that another time. Anyway, I changed the wash right around here, to a much darker one, just to see what would happen. I kept it cold though, and then it kind of immediately sent me in the direction where it was like, well, I think the light from the nuclear explosion in the background would be more impactful if it was nighttime. So I just immediately started painting towards nighttime. And here the water comes in. So the water happens pretty quick. Right here. And basically, I want the water to be a little more dirty, a little less reflective. But I think I decided I want to make it a little more reflective at the end. I just haven't gotten around to it. Overall, I'm pretty happy though. So right around here, you can see the nuke goes through so much evolution. I think just that's what's taking me the longest, is getting the nuke to kind of feel powerful. And I really don't get it to where I want it. So basically, right around here, I'm like, I don't like, it's a little too cool around the nuke. Like, I feel like this needs to be giving off more like red heat. So I just went on this whole can of worms where I made it all feel more fiery hot, which in turn changes the entire color palette. Now the blues become a little more purple in the shadows, and the ambient light becomes a little more red. So I basically kind of had to repaint everything a little bit. But right here, I get a so there's this tool in the program called Airbrush. It's basically it's just a different brush tip that lays down a nice kind of smooth tone. So I use that to and it kind of works in a transparent way, to where the sky was able to kind of do all that color mixing for me. These are little digital tricks you can use. But right around here, I got the shape that I wanted, and then I used some bloom effects here to really make it feel like the energy was bursting out of that plume there, or whatever you want to call it. And some rim light coming onto the castle now. And you know, at this point, it's been a lot of we're at the small finish up detail point. So anyway, that's the progress currently. It's actually kind of cool how I can do that if I work on this painting off stream for a while, kind of catch you up. But yeah, I've been at this teapot here. And I paint in one layer, except for when, like, for example, when I did this reflection, I copied the castle and kind of turned it upside down and painted it in. Traditional medium, you'd have to paint that all out. And, it's just one of those little shortcuts you can take. And you can see the resolution is very high. Like, when I come into this teacup, like, this is where it should make sense, right? This is where everything should read. Also, you'll see me flip it from time to time like this, and I recommend, if you're drawing digitally, to do that. It's something that it's nice to have under your fingertips when you're drawing. Our brains tend to lean like right or left for some reason when we're laying out stuff on the paper. Probably depends on like what hand you draw with too, but it helps balance things. This especially helps with drawing figures and humans too. That you're trying to make them feel centered, not on the ground. Which is another quest that, the main quest of life that I'm embarking on slowly and more painfully than the landscapes, but I do need to improve my human drawing and approach those again. It's like I always I'll get into it for a few months and then I'll put it down. And every time it gets a little better. So basically, after talking with my girlfriend and doing some research, because she's been in Disney and has a better memory with that kind of stuff, basically, there's not really anything around the castle besides like gift shops and anything. And like the way I'm drawing this camera angle is like we're right up on it, you know, right after you get out of the shops. So the point I'm at is like, so basically what I'm doing next is there's these light posts here. So the water is deep enough to cover the garden plant beds or whatever you want to call them. I have several reference photos over here of the castle and different camera shots that I used to kind of decide how to lay it out, but these lamp posts are gonna stick up. And get a little shot on them. Everything's so fancy, man. Probably be cool to have some maybe like one snapped and floating. I think the whole point of having stuff with the water in here is like it implies the flood. So like if a flood happened, it washed over the property of Disney World and grabbed some things along the way. So hopefully I'm not disappointing y'all. You guys came up with some crazy ideas and I ultimately decided that I think a flood and a nuke is good. Also, what I'm about to add on this stream is some fire, which is going to add a nice touch, I think. I want some fire shooting out of this window here, and definitely maybe here. I have several references of houses that are on fire to help me get it to look right. I've had my fair share. Fire is one of the things I've drawn a lot of over the years. Tried many times, but I still like to look up real life and make sure I remain disciplined. It's not going to be much rhyme or reason at this point in the painting as to why I'm jumping where I'm going. At this point of the painting, I'm kind of jumping around and finding the finish line. My next few artworks, I'm going to experiment with sharing some of the progress, I think, along the way. See how that fares, see if that's interesting to y'all. I don't know. I don't really have a logical reason for why I felt secretive about the process, I guess. Where I feel like maybe it takes away from the end product. But the end product's the end product at the end of the day, I guess. Maybe something that was more relevant in an older world, not in the new world today of fast-paced media. Keep in mind, the way I have this screen recording, you won't see any of the program menus popping up. I find that more pleasurable for the eye, so Sorry for the program nerds out there that want to see the different menus in the program and stuff. See, the thing is, it's fine when you're watching it in real time, but then what happens is you speed it up and it turns into a strobe light, basically. There's also not much rhyme or reason to the colors sometimes. I'm learning not to overthink color these days. I'm learning more understand the functions of it and which colors share those functions, and then kind of just use them to invoke emotion or temperature, mood, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different things color brings to the table that value in line work cannot. And that's why I got obsessed with it one day, ultimately, is because to me it made sense. It was like the final frontier. Like, through color you can communicate everything that real life has to offer. I ain't dissing black and white. I mean, it's one of my favorite mediums. I just think at the end of the day, I didn't want to exclude myself from an entire palette of emotion that you can work with. Often I find my brain makes analogies with music because it's very related in a lot of funny ways, but it's like playing like drawing pictures without color can sometimes feel like, or could be like akin to like playing music without tempo. It's like every song is the same exact speed every time, but you play with all the other aspects. So you still have harmony, melody, and rhythm, but it's always the same speed. Just to like trying to bring as many dimensions into it as I can. I think when I really started playing with color, it was like that dimension I didn't know I was craving to play with. There's a lot of rules you can follow on color palettes and different ways to move through color, but ultimately I think where I find the most joy in it is just kind of playing with it. There's a way you can just let it go. Actually deciding where I want to place the first fire. I think in this doorway because it's something that felt incomplete. Now I'm purposely holding back detail on this castle because literally every single trim board has fancy inlay, and we're a little too far away to care about that. The whole purpose of the painting doesn't care about the details of the castle much. As long as we recognize it's like the Disney castle, it's pretty much all I care about. To me, the Mickey Mouse and Walt Disney and the castle itself explain that enough. I love the bold colors you've been using. Thank you. I'm trying to find where I love it the most. I think I've had to try it all, and I'm in a phase of high saturation, I'd say. I'll probably end up going back to muted. Because there's a lot of, the thing is, like, it's more about being able to wield all of them. So I want to be able to be, like, not saturated on a whim as well as saturated. And communicate both fluently. So I guess I'm realizing I haven't spent as many hours in the saturation bracket. Because the thing is, when you start learning color mixing, you learn that grays are really safe. So it's fun to explore grays because they often communicate and do communicate. And saturated colors, I think, take a little bit more knowledge to place in the right spots than muted colors, just due to the nature of like how they don't communicate as much as when they are grayed out. But I've learned a lot. Digital is very forgiving. But I mean, you can sit here and study this mug. Like, I was definitely like having fun with this mug. I'm calling it a mug because I said that in my brain, but it's the spinning teacup, wherever they call it, the teacup ride. And it's white, but there's a lot going on here, and I'm not necessarily done shading it either. Not sure how bright I want to bring the rim lights in. I mean, ideally, I do probably want this to have something. I don't recommend zooming in this far. Only for like when it's difficult to get the pen stroke right, because it can be like that sometimes. I try to paint almost 100% of the painting zoomed out. But for objects that are important, it can be worth just spending a little more, putting a little extra attention into them. And see, like, you can't even see that from there. And I proved my point. I painted pretty much, like, as you can see, when I start getting closer to this castle, like, I didn't care that much attention to how neat all this is, you know? It's more about, like, capturing the essence. Because it'll make sense, obviously, once we go back to here, right? You can't see that. It's easy to get caught up in that. It's more of like an ease of access thing when using like a digital drawing tablet. Or it's just easier to get the line here. I think it needs to be a bit brighter, honestly. Somewhere around there. Really, I want to be more in the middle. It makes the edge of the mug feel more round. And right here, we can go a little extra white. There's a color picker that's popping up often that you can't see. I want it to be. Need a different brush. No. not quite. Maybe the darker pencil is the texture I need. I recommend jumping around different brushes on the program. It kind of helps simulate that realism. Although I try to stay the same brush for most of the time. I'm trying to break up my outlines here to kind of imply that it's a little rough around the edges from getting scratched up, and I think that's the other thing I need to add to this mug. There's some scratches and stuff. Yeah, I like the darker pencil. The thing is, like, I'm picturing this almost like a porcelain material, so. I love the teacup. So many memories of that ride, actually, and the pink heart one was always my fave. Was it? No way. I think it's kind of funny that you chose to float that through the water. Well, hell yeah. Who knows, maybe you'll be the lucky winner of the free print. I'm gonna give it this one. To be honest, sometimes I get stressed with those artists that say, oh, tracing is bad and stuff, and they're making all the art stealers unsafe, and I want the art stealers safe. Yeah, no, see, the thing is, like, there's ways to use things as tools, and then there's ways to be original about that. And then there's completely stealing art. And something they'll teach you in almost every class is to go study your master's. And that's not stealing your master's work. You gotta interpret your master's work. And I think it's different to study something from a master and then release it and say, like, hey, this is my painting. Like, if you copied it exactly, right? But I think it's something more to, like, study in your sketchbook or wherever you like to study, and then do your own version from the same idea. And ultimately, no matter how hard anyone tries, like, they're not gonna do it exactly like the original artist anyway. AI is a different conversation, but I think what people should be copying from the masters is the essence that they have, like the things that are invisible and which make their art great is what you should be copying, not the idea, if that makes sense. Besides, of course, like, there's an exception for everything. Besides, of course, when you're just trying to learn purely. But the second you're trying to, like, publish something and say it's yours and you thought of it, I mean, that's probably where, you know, we're crossing over into, like, stealing. But just try to make it your own, you know? If you're tracing over an anime character or something, let's say we're drawing Goku, right? You're just like, there's a certain way you love the way Goku is drawn in Dragon Ball Z Season 2, so you get a screenshot of Goku and you're tracing over it. Like, that's about, like, learning that style of anime. It's not about, like, stealing Goku. And to me, it's kind of obvious. Like, it's kind of obvious when someone, like, doesn't do the work to make it their own. But maybe that's just me. But you can kind of tell when someone just, like, in my opinion, copies something so blatantly and doesn't add anything. But, you know, that's why the fair use argument is so complicated, and it's been brought to court so many times. And but that's kind of where I reside on the whole deal of that. It's a tool for improvement. But anyway, back on my spiel here, like, there's a lot of thoughts going on with just this tea mug. I'm calling it something new every time, I swear to God. So you have light coming down from the nuke, right? Which is extremely red, extremely yellow, and orange. So I think it's gonna be the rim light's job. Because you have to do these things with, like, if you add something into the environment, you have to figure out a way that it ties into everything else. And so I'm thinking, like, okay, the nuke ties into the mug by the rim light. So we're gonna need it here too. I still have that color up. I don't, but that's fine. And it's good to find areas of contrast. So like right here, it was kind of a happy accident, but this rim light's gonna be able to be interrupted by this mug handle. So those are great moments to bring out if you can, in a way that's not gonna be too obvious. Like, there's ways to, like, capitalize on the happy accidents of the universe to make everything feel better. Now, being up to close is where you can get hairy, but I'm already thinking, like, it's one of the foreground subjects, and if someone got a giant print of this, it's worth spending time on that part. Oh, I've been sending money vibes to the universe. Basically, so the way I'm gonna do it is just be transparent. I'm gonna go back to the old post. I'm gonna gather everyone's names for you know, who commented, and then there's like things you can enter a bunch of names into, and then you just like press a button, and like it'll just use coding to randomly pick a name. So I'm gonna use like the digital version of like writing all your names on a piece of paper and picking it out of a hat. And then, you know, obviously if I can't get in touch with the person in a set amount of days, it will reset and I will re-roll. So, you know, if you don't win the first time, maybe the person won't answer. Now, a nuke is a very intense light. From all the nuclear explosions that we have footage of from real life, it's almost like an unnaturally bright light, kind of like a strike of lightning. It's brighter than the sun at the instance that it's happening, at least from. And you know, the thing is, I'm keeping in mind it's probably messing up the cameras a little bit. So I'm trying to think, like, what would it look like through your eyes? So it's, the more light sources you add, the more complicated it can get. But basically the nuke is going to be the main light source, because nighttime, so I have the stars over here too. And also the other source will probably be, I'm debating having one of the little lamps still on, and then also the fires. So, a little bit of work left to do. This mug is something I want to work out a little more. So I'm very impressed with the oil brush of this program. It's very realistic. They did a recent update, and the color blending is the best it's ever been. What I should probably do is take some of this blue here. I think one of the most beautiful things about digital is once you've established your color, can color pick all those little variants with the press of a button on the pen. The other reason I like to paint on one layer is I like how all the colors react, just at least how they do in this program. I jump between the oil brush and the gouache brush. Hey, what's going on, Daniel? Yeah, I was thinking a big print would make the teacup very focal in the foreground. Yeah, for sure. Just figured I'd zoom out for you, Dan. This is the current progress. And because you're such a bro of the stream. Just give you a little catch up. So probably last time you were watching, we were about here. Can't see the chat. Thank you, Steph. I did move on from not fixing that. I'll see if I can fix that quick. But here's a little fast forward. I'm just gonna drag my mouse. This time lapse will be available to watch with better speed and everything later. So that's where we are now. Disney Apocalypse. Nuke in a Flood, so fun. Fires. The nuke has been fun to draw. I really get into making it feel very energetic and doomy. Can't see the chat. Why has this been doing this to me lately? Let me see. If I just recopy the stream link here. Hi, baby. I love you too. Yeah, you think you're funny, huh? Yeah, she was just busting my balls over there a minute ago. How do I do this? Giant mushroom, yes. Giant glowing mushroom took over the world. That's another take. I agree. By the way, Daniel, I believe you have commented on the original posts, so you entered into winning a free print of this as well. I'm trying to fix why the chat isn't showing up here, guys. I'm sorry. So annoying. It can never just run smoothly, can it? Copy this URL into OBS Studio. Okay. Maybe the link just changed after a while. It should be showing, man. I am lost for. Bottom line, hide messages, that's on. That painting looks like what Disneyland looked like in the year 4089. Hell yeah. Exactly the vibe we're going for. I'm so glad. We're adding some details in. I gotta get the lamps. I even debated zooming it out a little bit and painting out the edges a little farther to add more, but it's approaching the finish line to the point where, yeah. I had to refresh the tag, guys. I'm so sorry. There we go. I know it reset all the messages. It sucks, but like that should happen like when I start it, but whatever. Hopefully y'all can see the chat on the screen now. I should say this chat is ready to display messages as like the bot or whatever. Type in the Discord for anyone. I'll be the first comment again. Hopefully my CloudBot's on for the link. Anyway, real quick, guys. I'm gonna refill my apple juice. You know how it is, Steph. I'll be right back. I realized I should have just given y'all a time lapse here. What's going on? Thanks for sticking around. I started getting the chair dance, if you know what I mean. When you have to pee. And it's just starting to get uncomfortable. Alright. Apple juice acquired. So there's reflective light coming up from this water here. But it's also part of the shadow. I kind of like how it looks to keep the brush strokes a little chunky. It's a bit bigger than it wants to be. And sometimes you can get the reflective light can get a bit intense right down by the edge. I was just playing with some colors in here. If someone could just send a comment in chat to test really quick for me, so I can make sure that it is indeed now showing up, that'd be great. Hopefully I can see this from a zoom out. I can see it now. Sweet. I know it's a little bit smaller than usual, but I'd rather compromise chat size for painting screen area. Okay, so what I wanted to do here, because this happened. Sort of like a it's cracked situation, you know what I mean? That worked out nicely. Remember when I was talking to you about like, chaotic wiggles with your brush? That one just worked out perfectly. Sometimes it's better to move quickly and not think about it so much, and you can kind of get those organic. Wow, that's probably the fastest organic crack ever drawn in my life. Came out just right. I think I just need to grab this pink shadow here. And just imply. Nice. And I think we can get maybe a little bit of highlight here, bring it out just a little more. You can do fake highlights in the sense that like there's no particular light source that's making it, but you're just using it as a tool to like bring out readability. And here's where like, you tread into like style. Like I would think that like the area of art, or it's like, oh, like there's rules until like, you know, there's no rules. Like the no rules part is where you get into your style. So you learn the rules, right? You learn as many fucking rules as you can, and then you break them by decision through your style. So like you go, all right, well I know how to draw hyper realistic, so what do I want to take out, or what do I want to leave in? And I think like that describes style the most. At least when I like study other artists, I'm like, okay, so he's a dude, he likes to keep his brush strokes chunky, he uses really saturated colors, to where it's like when you study like hyperrealism, they don't go use super saturated colors, but you can learn how to push them and then, you know, break that rule later on. Realistic crack, wow. Thanks, man. I felt good about that one. That was one of those like I wiggled the brush just right there. Yeah, it was one I had the flat brush and I did this little wiggle and it was like done. Sometimes that happens. That was like my Bob Ross moment of the stream today, where he like takes a big fat brush and like finishes a waterfall in one stroke. You're like, wow, what a dick. I spent 3 hours yesterday painting a waterfall and he just did it in one brush stroke. That's Bob Ross for you. But see, that's a style. And all the hyperrealists out there can come in and go, yeah, but when you really want to render a tree, you can be like Michael James Smith, that literally gets just his little tiny zero round brush out and just does every individual leaf. And that will look a certain way. That's awesome as well. So it's all what you want to do and what you want to leave out and leave in. Personally, I started doing every little tiny piece of bacteria and atom on everything. I drew the protons and the electrons on every atom of every blade of grass, but as I got older and I've evolved and I've learned more about what makes things look good and design and art, I've started to, I wouldn't say go the complete opposite way, but I find myself somewhere in the middle. I've now these days like spending time on like the thing that's like ooh. So like in the background here, I spent a lot of time on this glowiness and like how this like exactly where the explosion's happening and how it's so bright that even the tiniest space in the cloud will show pure white. And I just like really had to think about that. So I like spending time in certain areas that are important to where I ain't dissing super impressionistic art. I think it's fucking awesome, and there's masters out there that like get it so good to where like one brush stroke is the whole painting somehow, and it's like, but like personally, see, it's about what you enjoy as you go through a painting. Honestly, I think that's like the most important thing, and where I get off the most is like sitting there on that rock and adding a little bit of moss and a couple mushrooms on the side, like after I've established a main idea that's readable. And I think that's my Goldilocks zone, we could call it, between like impressionistic and hyper-realistic. And the thing is with hyper-realistic, like there's people that out there like their artworks, they don't spend any less than 130 hours on that shit. Like those super hyper-realistic graphite drawings or those tiger paintings that are like 30, you know, fucking 7 by 10 feet big on a canvas, like, and that's a certain decision that you can make. Personally, I have so many ideas that goes through my head that's the reason I don't do that style. I've spent 100 hours on drawings before, and I have already gone through like 18 ideas by the time I'm done with that painting that I want to do so bad that like it kind of starts ruining it for me if I take too long. So like for me, I really like to get through as many ideas as possible, but also at the least amount like sacrificing the quality. So like I'm trying to find that sweet spot between like producing a lot but not sacrificing like that hyper realism as much as possible. So that's probably like my like Jokum's equation for like the style I'm trying to achieve. I don't really want something to take longer than a month, because at the very most, because I have so many ideas and I just want to get through as many as possible, because time is valuable, right? We only have so much of it. I'm only gonna get so many paintings out in my day, and I think just being able to explore every universe is more important to me than it is to get one of the universes I explore perfect. So I really enjoy like the qualities of impressionistic work, in the sense that the viewer's brain